a special surprise for you. We're going to be simulcasting with the great Angry Tiger, and I will swing it over to Angry Tiger. Now, hopefully, you guys can hear that. Let me know in the chat if you can hear Angry Tiger. So, AT, can you hear me?
Good. I can hear you loud and clear. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a very special simulcast where we've teamed up with the Don Jeffries Show. And I'm going to go ahead for the viewers who are viewing on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. Everybody, get into the freeworld.fm chat as well. I'm going to play my introduction, and we're going to do like the Tiger's Den introduction like we normally do. So here we go. Everybody, hold on.
Tiger style. Tiger style. Tiger style.
Attention, everyone.
Tiger
This
style.
is an emergency broadcast. The unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake. Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go, so that you can make the sound we broadcast as loud as possible.
Tiger style. Tiger style. Tiger
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for spending your time in the Tiger's Den and the Don Jeffries Show. We will try not to waste it. It is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024 AD. I am Franco Mattei, otherwise known as Angry Tiger. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, in the truth community, there are a variety of colored pills, from blue pills to red pills to black pills. There are also a variety of theories of who is who and what is what. The question that we pose tonight: have many of us been black-pilled to the point of impotency, the opposite of mental Viagra, shutting down our ability to take in new ideas, or applaud someone who is espousing the truth, even though their connections and pasts might be questionable? Does it help us to speak in an echo chamber to perhaps the 1% of the population who is in the know when it comes to the truth? Are we just cutting off our nose to spite our face when we refuse to share information because of the source which it is divulged from? If we continue on this path, we will be spinning our wheels, going nowhere, arrogantly thinking we know everything, and closing off our minds, huddled into a small corner of intellectual trappings. It is the job of those of who are informed to spread the news, to spread the truth and the information. If someone that we might disagree with on some things, or perhaps has a dubious past or connection, is willing to spread the truth on a bigger platform, are we sellouts or traitors to the cause for supporting their message? Something to ponder for all the viewers and listeners. This is a very special broadcast tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as the Don Jeffries Show and the Tiger's Den will be simulcasting. Head on over to freeworld.fm and get in the chat. You can also view this on my Rumble channel, YouTube, and Twitter. And remember to hold on tight. You have the tiger by the tail. With us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, a clarion of truth and liberty, a human printing press of freedom. When he walks down the street in Washington, D.C., politicians do the vampire shuffle and run for the dark corners. Ladies and gentlemen, author of Hidden History, Crimes and Cover-Ups in American Politics, and many, many more, it is my honor to introduce Donald Jeffries. Thank you for having me on the Don Jeffries Show, and welcome to the Tiger Den. Don, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, it's wonderful, AT. I love your introduction. I hope, guys, tell me in the free world chat if you can hear me. They were telling me before they couldn't hear me, but I wasn't talking, so I hope that's why. So
Let's
Jason
see.
Barker and the others
hop over into the free world chat and see what they got going on.
Yeah, because they're saying they can't set my audio settings and stuff, but you guys should be able to hear me. But let me know now, because I wasn't talking before, so that's probably why. So type in the chat if you hear. Yeah, you're good now, Don. Yeah, so that's why, because I wasn't talking, so we're cool. So you can't hear me if I'm not talking.
Excellent.
I can be pretty loud, but I'm not that loud. So it's great. It's great to be simulcasting here. It's great to see some familiar names in the chat room. So hopefully see some more there. So yeah, I agree with you, AT. As you know, I bring this kind of stuff all the time, and I'm not used to being the sunny optimist in the room. But in this world of ours, most of the time I end up being the optimist, which is, if anybody that knows me in real life would find that hard to believe. But so many people are, and I have a lot of black pill in me too. I mean, sometimes I can sit there and think, God, there's no hope. But I don't think we can, because carried to its logical extreme, the way some people in our community feel about like Tucker Carlson or something like that. If, like, let's just say Tucker Carlson on his new network offered one of us and, decided to, for whatever reason, I like the cut of your jib, Angry Tiger, and, come on over here. We're going to pay you $100,000 to do once a week show. Now, are you going to turn that down because it's Tucker Carlson? Well, there must be some catch here.
Absolutely not.
Exactly, of course, unless he tells you, well, you can't talk about this. And that's what I tell people, no matter what I'm on, coast to coast. When I was on, RT and the Travel Channel place, they don't tell me what to say. And if I went on Fox News or something and they told me you can't say this, then I would have reservations, but nobody. I'm going to say whatever I say wherever I am. And I think that's what we have to realize, take the platforms that are there and don't just look at, well, I'm not going to go. If Rachel Maddow wants to have me on the show, yeah, I could probably somehow have a conversation, but I don't know what it would be about. But but if she's offering me
that,
I'm still gonna thank her for having me on, and I'm confident enough that she couldn't make a fool out of me. So I agree with you. I think we need to it's David Knight said, although David Knight's pretty black pilled too, but David Knight has said that before, and I agree with him that when Ron DeSantis passed good legislation in Florida, which he did sometimes, we said great. And Tucker Carlson showed the January 6th footage that nobody else is showing. That was great. So I think we need to just take what's there.
I agree. Don, and let me ask you a question here. You're still on band.video, right?
Yeah, exactly. They
do they tell you what to say?
Of course not. And I talk about Alex Jones on my show. So nobody's ever said that, and now he hasn't answered me lately, Harrison Smith, but he's hard to get a hold of, American Journal. But when he had me on his show, he puts out a completely different product than Alex. If anything, he's really hard on Jews. I mean, he talks about Israel and the Jews all the time. He doesn't hold back on anything. And he told me, I talked to him on the phone, and I said, what about, you're so different from Alex. He said, yeah, no, Alex, I know, he's different from I am on this, but he never tells me anything. He never says that I can't say this. So I don't know what that means, but I do know that he seems like a decent guy, and he's on there, and they have all my, shows on there. That's probably where they get watched the most. And I'm saying what I say on it. They're not editing it.
Well, here's the thing, Don, that kind of irritates me about this. So I admire you. You're not a sellout. You're not a shill. We know, everybody viewing knows that. Okay. And you can get on a platform like band.video. You're getting a lot more viewers than coming on the Tiger's Den and I'm not trying to be mean to us, or America Unplugged on Rockfin or any of that.
Sure.
Okay. So the message that you're bringing is getting out to a larger crowd. I get a lot of crap go, oh, you're on YouTube. I will rock YouTube. And I've gotten spanked many times, suspended for 2 weeks many times, but I will rock YouTube until the wheels fall off, because guess what? That's where a lot of people go to watch videos, and that's a bigger audience there. It's a bigger platform. So if I can get more people to listen to what I'm trying to say and the message I'm trying to spread, I will do that. And I don't care if Tucker Carlson or band.video or whomever wants to put me on their platform, and it's a big platform, and I can get more viewers to hear what I'm saying. Well, then why am I doing this? And why are you doing what you do if we're not trying to get the word out? We're not making millions off of this. And here's another thing. Say we do get successful and we make a little bit of money, or we're on a bigger platform, then we're shills, then we're sellouts, then we're what's the other one? Grifters.
Yeah, exactly.
What do people want?
Everything's grifter. Exactly. And everybody, and I'm amazed at the people they say are grifters sometimes are making a lot less. And this is really the kind of stuff I heard in the JFK Research Committee. That's what they used to say to the people that were critics of the Warren Report. That was one of their main arguments. Oh, you're just in it to sell books and make money. And I can tell you that Mark Lane's Rush to Judgment and maybe David Lipton's Best Evidence, maybe 2 or 3 books that were pro-conspiracy made any real good amount of money. This, and that was then when people were buying more books. I mean, nobody got rich doing that. I know of those people, and very few of them were wealthy. And how many wealthy conspiracy theorists are there? Not too many. And I hope Jason Barker can hear. Jason now is saying he couldn't hear Tiger. I hope you can hear him now, Jason.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear us both.
Okay, now Jason is suggesting the top setting needs to be your headphones, Don, so we can hear Tiger. Okay, what is it? Where do I go then? What is he talking about? So none of you can hear Angry Tiger, or is it just Jason? Can any White Wolf? Can you hear him? Little John?
Yeah, let us know in the free world chat if you guys can hear us.
Angus Mustang says he hears 2 times the audio. Okay, so you're hearing everybody. Who else was the dude was in here? Dude, can you hear me? I think that's Felix. Let us know in the chat room if you're hearing. Okay, yeah, Confident Character says can't hear. Okay, Little John says you just hear me. So we have to try to hook it up where they can hear. But maybe that's weird, isn't it? Before Jason said he couldn't hear me.
That is weird. I'll babble a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead and talk. Tell us if you hear him.
Yep. So here's the thing, guys. Like I was saying with Don, we can't just stay in this echo chamber. That's not going to work. It's definitely not going to work. Hey, Don, Jason has some instructions here in the freeworld.fm chat. And I think there's an ability to zoom in on that.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to see if I can do that. Okay, let me zoom in. Okay.
But while Don does this, I'll keep babbling to keep the airflow
yes,
going.
Please do.
Here,
okay.
Don. But yeah, I mean, if we're in a tin can and we're only talking to so many people, we're not getting the word out. And yeah, we love our viewers and we love our listeners. Okay. But it's not, this isn't something that I don't do this for my health. I don't do this for money. I do this because I think that in my purview, especially being a financial guy, I see disaster coming. I see a disaster, and it's not a very good thing. And I want to warn not only the people who are in a like mind like we are, I want to warn the general public. And I think, a lot of people don't understand. And it's a shame because a lot of my viewers are Christians. We need to warn these people. It's our duty as Christians. If you see someone that's about to get hit by a bus, it's your responsibility to try to help that person. Don't get hit by the bus yourself, but you should inform that person or grab his, coat, his or her coat, snatch him back from getting hit by that bus. So that's what we're trying to do. Okay. And
yeah, wait, what I can see, Tiger, is that I excuse me. I don't see any settings. Jason looks like he said that there's a settings thing here that I have to, but where do I find the settings? I look at the top menu and settings isn't under anything. There's a schedule and show and chat, contacts, blog, home.
Do you know where your audio settings are, Don, in the butt? Because I have the
in the butt maybe. Okay. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm looking at okay.
Yep. Hold on. It's in the butt. But I'll continue to talk while you do this.
Yes, please do. Okay.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. We're trying to iron this out. And I assure you, once we get all these things, and they're working feverishly at freeworld.fm and trying to get all the
okay. See, I have to add something, but it says I can add it, but I don't know what to put as to how do I add it? Do I just put StreamYard or as the name?
That's a good question. Hopefully Jason can answer you.
Okay, Jason, I'll wait for your answer, Jason. If you can hear me, I assume. This is live radio, folks.
This is live radio, ladies and gentlemen.
People have been listening to me for a long time know this is this is par for the course. You should listen to my TFR show over there.
We'll iron this out. I'm
Jay said he'll do a video on my
that we're messing up here.
No, it's problem. It's fun. Okay, I don't use but. It was too confusing. Jason says, someone share the YouTube link, please. Okay, so they want maybe you can watch it there because they can. But I thought so you can't hear me. Somebody said they couldn't hear me on YouTube.
Audi says that he can hear both of us on YouTube.
Okay. So Angus says he only heard one audio for a couple minutes, now 2 again. I think it's feedback from Don's speakers.
No, it could be feedback from my speakers.
Okay. All right. Well, We're trying, folks. Angus feels like he's a time traveler.
Let me try putting the cans on my head. Let me see if I can help this out a little bit. Now,
Okay.
Let's get the cans on my head. Maybe they won't get dual audio here. All right, let's see here. For Pete's sake. Okay, I can hear you fine, Don. Hopefully that fixes. Hopefully that fixes the audio on your end, on the end of the free world, guys. Let me know. Let me know, Angus, if you still are hearing dual voices here.
Yeah, hopefully we can get to the point where Calm Specimen is asking me who's my guest Friday. It's going to be the lovely Mary Maxwell. She has this idea. She's gotten over her cough, and she wants to interview me about survival of the richest. So I'm going to be the guest on my own show Friday. So I think, unless her cough comes back, in which case I don't know. But,
I remember her. She's a very sweet lady.
Oh, she's so cool. Because when you talk to her, she sounds like, some grandmother that's going to give you milk and cookies, and she's really down the rabbit hole. So she's talking about all this real conspiratorial stuff. So it's kind of disarming, but it's great.
Don, and the thing that why I wanted to do this show with you is because I heard, I was in the chat when you were talking about Tucker Carlson a couple times, and I seen some really negative comments thrown at you. And I'm like,
oh, yes,
this is ridiculous. Look, Tucker has a huge audience. Mm-hmm. If Tucker 20 years ago called us all nut jobs for 9/11, okay, fine. He's not saying that now. Now he's telling his very large audience some stuff about 9/11 that they need to know. Okay. And I think it's very serious that a guy like that's getting the word out. And if we just shut everybody down now Don, I've been training I'm scared to share a Tucker Carlson video when he's saying something right. Yeah. Where is this all going? I don't care if people don't listen or don't watch. I tell them that all the time. I'm not gonna dance around people's worries about somebody being a shill anymore. Rand Paul's another great example, Don. Oh, Rand Paul does a lot of things on the floor, a lot of things in the House, a lot of things in the Senate.
Yeah.
And he invested in remdesivir, and he didn't grill Fauci enough about the Wuhan thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a news flash. Okay. And I hear things about Ron Paul too. I had somebody say something about Ron Paul.
Yes.
More than one person. And I'm going to tell you guys something. In the real world, in the grown-up world, I hate to use these words to you guys. All right, I hate to sound like this, but you can't run around with conspiracy theories that you have to go do a bunch of research to prove. People don't have time for that. They're working. They're doing this. They're doing that. Right. They're tuning into Tucker Carlson. They're tuning into these bigger platforms to try to get the idea. When a guy's on the Senate floor running for Senate, running for president, they can't run around with half-baked theories with no proof. Okay, with the general public, they're not going to get anywhere. I'm happy these guys are attacking the Federal Reserve and the CIA.
Exactly. And you have to look at it. You form. It's the way politics used to work, as corrupt as it was. People, you would form confederations for various issues. So, in the case of Ron Paul, if I'm in Senate or whatever, I would work with him on bringing the troops home, stopping the wars, auditing the Federal Reserve. That's all great stuff. And he may not agree with me on some of the other stuff. And the same thing with some of the Freedom Caucus members, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, those people. I would work with them on the stuff I can work with them on, try to expose the injustice of January 6 prisoners and stuff like that. That's what you do. And the reason I supported Trump, in 2016 is because of immigration. That was like some people who were abortion, pro-life issues, one issue person. Abortion for me, immigration for me was my issue then. I said, if I know about his past, and he loves the police too much, and he likes the police state, a lot of things of it. So I knew that. But if he had done something to control immigration alone, if he had deported the people and got control of the border and just done that, that would have been a huge improvement. And that's it was just one of these things. If somebody brings the troops home and says, yeah, you know what, we do need to concentrate on building America, if somebody just, builds the infrastructure finally. All those are kind of one issue things. But so I don't understand Tucker. When I listen to him, he's pretty much, I agree with him 90 some percent of the time. There are very few things I don't, that I look at and say, well, why did he say that? And and I think he's explained about the 9/11 comments. Yeah, he said horrible things about us 15 years ago or whatever it was, but he admits it now. He says, yeah, I was really naive. I used to call everybody conspiracy theorists, and now he claims he's been changed. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of his, but I understand how the black-pilled people, or whatever you would call them, they think that's that's his assignment. And of course, we know that there are some people out there that is their assignment. But
there are some, yeah, not
some.
all.
Right.
So,
but we can't.
So I've got some comments, and I want to get your reaction on. We'll go with this one first, and I'm going to go back into a couple comments. So this guy says Alicia Owen said that she saw many congressmen at sex parties. Okay, White Wolf, and I'm going to address this first. Then I want you to see what you think. This is what she says. She's got pictures? Does she have evidence, or is she trying to get more clicks, more likes? I don't even know who she is. Does she sell books or whatever? Or is that just
no? Alicia Owen was the girl. She was the one of the main victims of the Franklin credit scandal. She was the little girl that most of them were little boys. A couple of them were killed. Alicia Owen was the one little girl, because most of these guys like little boys. But she was a little girl, and she accused a lot of people in Nebraska, the big newspaper publisher, the chief of police, big wigs in Nebraska, and of this child sex abuse. And she was targeted. They went after her and prosecuted her and convicted her of perjury. She was an underage. I don't think there's ever been a case of anybody else that was a minor convicted of perjury. And she originally was given a really terrible prison sentence. She didn't serve. I don't know if she served 10 years, but it was ridiculous, whatever she was. So that's who she is. She definitely is a victim. Whether she saw, I don't know if she was one of those people said they saw George Bush walking around with a black boy. I remember reading that. I don't know. Who knows?
Do you think that George Bush is going to allow someone to see them in a wild sex party?
Well, you would.
I mean, I'm just trying to be realistic here about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and I on those issues, what I do is I look at, okay, all these kids are making allegations that that these powerful adults are doing something to them, and the Franklin credit scandal is interesting because one of the guys, I think it was Paul Bonacci, he described being basically abducted and flown to where he said a location. He described Bohemian Grove. He didn't know what it was. He was a kid. And he described it to a T. He talked about these giant trees, and he talked about the giant owl and the people. And he claimed that they actually killed a kid. They claimed the cremation of care is a mock child sacrifice. He claimed they actually did it. So I was very impressed with the fact that he, that he could come up with that. I don't think he made that up on his own. So they were into something. And you read what I wrote about it in my book. But and of course, but I've heard it might have been White Wolf. Somebody was claiming that DeCamp himself, the guy who wrote that, was also a shill. So I don't know. Maybe they all are.
Well, I'm being called ignorant right now on the chat. Because I live in reality, I guess, and I don't think that everybody's a paid actor or a shill, and I'm not accusing the young lady of lying. Like I said, I didn't know about that. I really didn't know the details of it. I've heard about the Franklin credit scandal and all that, but I didn't know the details of it. But okay, let me ask you a question. So do you think every politician and every bigger broadcaster is part of their hired actors, or they're part of this big cabal and they know exactly what's going on? If you think that, you're ignorant. That's my opinion. That if you think that every single person in the political world is aware of what's going on, that is ignorant. Have you guys ever heard of the Manhattan Project? That's all I have to say. What do you think, Don? I mean, do you think they're all in on it?
Well, they don't, what Harold Weisberg told me, he's one of the most famous Warren Commission critics. He was my hero, like Mark Lane was, and I got to meet him. And I asked him about the media, the JFK, and he said, they didn't have to be told to cover up. And I think that's where, I think these people, they go to college, they go to these indoctrination universities, they work for big corporations. They may not even consciously know what they're doing, but they know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So they know, okay, this is, they genuflect when they see okay, well, we're going to talk about something that sounds conspiratorial, they instantly know the code words to use to discredit people. That's a conspiracy theory. But I don't, some of them go to Bilderberg, some of them go to Bohemian Grove, but I don't know that they openly talk about it there. I think they just kind of push the same stuff that we see pushed in the media. This is what we're going for. We need more diversity, equity, inclusion. We need to push globalism. It's a one world, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they hand out things and say, this is what you can't talk about. I think people get the message. They know what they can't talk about. And people like Gary Webb, that was killed, I think, for talking about the CIA bringing crack cocaine into the inner cities. I think, Dorothy Kilgallen, going back to the JFK assassination, I think, that some other reporters know about these people. And they know what will happen if they do, like if they decide, okay, I'm going to start talking about, at the very least, they start talking about 9/11 truth or something. They're going to lose their job, and they have great jobs. So, they don't have to be warned not to do it. They know not to do it. So I think, I don't think and I don't think, I can't believe that everybody in power wants to have sex with kids. I mean, but
that's stupid. It's moronic to think that.
Yeah. I mean, because I just don't think that that there's that many adults who that's what their go-to thing is. I just I've never known one in real life, but I think that there is a disproportionate number of them in public life because I think they seek out people that have the ability to be blackmailed. And I think that's why you used to see so many gay people in Congress when that was a big thing, because they could hold that over their head. You go out of line, hey, we're going to, and in this case, if what we're hearing is true about the parties and the spirit cooking and all that stuff, if they have video and film of these people, although I don't know who would they show it to, because they don't want to expose it. They can't pretend like just that person is doing it. So I'm not sure how they would even blackmail people with that at this point, unless they just say, well, we'll kill you or something. And,
well, you just made a very poignant point. Yeah, I mean, think about this for a minute. So they're going to blackmail the people, and this is what a lot of people think. And I think a lot of that goes on. I agree with you. But who are they going to blackmail them to? Because if they're involved in this stuff, I mean, nobody's using logic. They just jump to the conclusion,
right.
And we're all supposed to be critical thinkers in this truth world. And it mystifies me that you think every single person who's popular or in the political life is bought and sold by these people. I think it's more of, Don, like you said, they know if they talk about, like, the UFO thing. If you talked about UFOs 30 years ago, you were a nut.
Right.
A congressman couldn't get up on stage and start talking about UFOs. I think that there's so much corruption, and they see what happens to people, okay, that you have it's like a snowball. It goes down the hill, it takes on a life of its own. You have all this corruption going on, and that's how a lot of these politicians they're corrupted by money. It's not some dark figure that says, hey, you do this and you do that and you sell your soul to Satan and rape a bunch of little kids, or you're not going to be able to be a politician. To think that it's living in fantasy world. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We got to get out of that, because we're just going to preach to the choir. That's all we're going to do.
No, you're right. And like I've been told before, that basically the only way you can prove that you're legitimate is to be killed. Because I've had people say, well, so it's like, well, it's a hell of a way to prove that you're legitimate, by having them knock you off. And obviously they don't knock everybody off. And so that's why, but they do knock some off. I don't know how they pick and choose. I don't know, but clearly, I mean, I count these body counts for everywhere, and there's, but sometimes they don't make any sense, because they're not always the most. I mean, you could look at somebody like Epstein; it's obvious, or something, but not all of them are. But clearly, these things are there, and I almost think that they do it as a game, because life means nothing to them. So we have our intelligence agencies have had secret budgets forever, and I don't hear nobody on the left used to do it, nobody on the right's doing it. Nobody ever says, why can't we have transparency? Why can't we at least know how much they're spending, let alone what they're spending it on? So theoretically, part of that black ops, you could have a hit squad. You could
Sure.
easily have you could easily have a hit squad where they pay people to silence whistleblowers, silence dissenters, whatever. We wouldn't know. And again, I don't know how many people have to know. People talk, for instance, about the someone would have talked. That's the argument I get all the time. Someone would have talked. Most people are followers. They're going to get the message. Like for instance, the Apollo the Moon program. You go back to 1969. First of all, people were so naive. All those hundreds of people or whatever, thousands, however many there were at NASA that were sitting there in front of their little computer monitors that are doing whatever they're supposed to be doing. They're wrapped in their job and they're looking up at the big screen and they're full of patriotic fervor. So they're not in on any conspiracy. If they faked it, it would have been just the astronauts and very few people at the top. And that's so it doesn't need to be more than that because the rest of the people, first of all, they're not gonna fathom it. If somebody tells them, they're not gonna believe it. It's crazy. You're crazy talk. And that's the gist. That's why conspiracies are so successful. As J. Edgar Hoover, of all people, said way back in the day, the average person can't understand. Their mind can't wrap around the fact that there's something this big. So if you tell them that, we didn't go to the moon, if you tell them that Earth is flat, whatever, these huge things, these concepts, they're not going to entertain it for a second. Or even something like, even 9/11 or something. It's most of the time they're going to look at you like, because it's too big, because there have to be powerful people involved. And that's the reason why this is so successful, because even though people kind of know, they will admit, yeah, government's corrupt. Or people that somehow when it comes to specific things, they don't want to believe they actually did anything. Well, then what do you think government corruption is? What do you think they're doing if you think that, but they couldn't have done that? That's why I don't theorize. I have no theory. If you read my books, you can see I never say, I never speculate much at all.
No, in your books, you just give the information.
Yeah, I've just given the information. So is it a conspiracy theory that, the government themselves tell you that steel melts at a particular point? I forget what the temperature is. And then in the same breath tells you that it only got up to a much lower point, the fires in the World Trade Center, but then they used that. And so they melted. I mean, I'm just presenting the facts here. That makes no sense because they're telling you their own science is saying it didn't. That's a fact. It's a fact that the Muhammad Atta's passport floated down on top of all the rubble where everything was obliterated. But somehow that passport, now you figure out what that means. I don't know what it means, but it means, go back to the JFK assassination. And why would you plant a bullet that looked like it hadn't hit anything?
Right.
Wouldn't sophisticate, because I think they're sending a message. It's like Jack the Ripper taunting Scotland Yard. They like to play games with people, and they know that no matter how obvious they make it, that very few people are going to understand. They literally could get up on the screen, Anderson Cooper or any, and they could just start winking at the screen and saying, yeah, we're lying. There is a huge conspiracy. Everything we're telling you is a lie, and start laughing. And either people would think it was a joke or it wouldn't matter. He could say it every night. There are going to be lots of people that are not going to believe it because the normalcy bias is so strong. And that's what we struggle with, because especially with people, it's no accident. Like, lots of people here, I don't hear from any millionaires, like my work, so most people I hear from are struggling, like a lot of us are. And so, but the people that are doing well, they're never going to entertain any of this that we're saying, because the system's been great for them. What do you complain about, buddy? I'm doing fine. And that's all they care about is themselves, but they're not able to see the kind of struggles that are going on out there. I mean, I can tell you stories myself, but I don't know. That's kind of a long-winded way. I don't even know how to answer any question, but
well, here's another thing that, and everybody's getting mad at me, and that's fine. I'm the guy that pushes back on a lot of stuff, which is, I don't mind being that guy. I think, I'm not saying that there aren't conspiracies. I'm not saying there aren't horrible people in politics. I don't like politicians, but to just totally throw the whole baby out with the bathwater and come up with this, I think that it's a natural human instinct when you're dealing with stuff that you don't know everything 100%. It's a mystery. Okay. It happens like back with ancient religions. Why is the wind blowing? Oh, it's a wind god, just that kind of thinking, right? Where people get in their mind, oh, every single politician is a pedophile. That is a tremendous statement to make. I think it's more of a combination of there's so much corruption going on. Okay, there's some blackmailing going on. I think it's a combination of all these things. I also think it's a combination that if you have a job and you're working and you see the guy is drinking from a straw and he got fired for it, you're not going to drink from a straw. You know what I'm saying? If you value your job. And then I also think that there's reality. There's the reality of some of these people who maybe like the Pauls or even maybe Tucker Carlson or some other people. I don't know about Tucker Carlson, but other people, they realize that they're just not talking to 1% of the population, that you can't go dump a 5-gallon bucket of hot or cold truth on somebody's head in the general mass and say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Ron Paul did that just with war, just with the Federal Reserve,
right,
and just with a lot of different things, okay? And he was the crazy uncle in the closet. He was ignored. Yeah. They didn't have to kill Ron Paul. They marginalized him. Right. They took they made him out to be a crazy man. You know, that's why I think they do that more now than they kill people. Because when you kill someone, you martyrize them. You got JFK. Now you got millions of people sniffing around how JFK was killed. This Boeing thing. Look at this is a great example.
Yeah.
The Boeing guy who got murked here. I think the guy was murked. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But everybody's sniffing around it. That's not a good way to go. Boeing, they haven't had their conversation with the CIA on how to do things.
yeah, you're right. And they don't have to. They can easily demonize people and marginalize people. But and they haven't had. I mean, the last assassination in this country that was successful would have been Robert F. Kennedy in 1968. We had Reagan attempt in 1980, a George Wallace attempt. It paralyzed him, and you had the Reagan attempt. And Reagan was the last assassination attempt. So you're talking about 44 years. So even the assassination is kind of passé at this point. You're right. I think they don't, for whatever reason, they don't do things that way. But they're honest people everywhere. They're honest people at all levels. But the problem is they're so outnumbered. They're so outnumbered. And the people at the top, somebody honest can only go up so high. So they can't. That's why even if Trump had been sincere, I don't know what he could have done. My argument with him is at least he could have tried. But I don't think, he's just one man. I don't know what can be done because, I mean, you got to look at the flack he caught when he wasn't really trying to do anything. He was just talking. Just imagine if he had gone up and signed an order to deport, 20 million. I mean, what would the reaction have been then? So I think it's we look at it like I have empathy for some of these people too, because I can understand, especially the ones that have young kids and they have families and they've got a gravy job. They're making, high 6-figure salaries. It's not hard work. Their future's set. Their children's future is set because their children, when they grow up, they'll be the son of some journalist or the son of a congressman. So their future is set. They'll, the door will be open to great colleges and great opportunities. They'll become interns, whatever. So I can understand how they don't want to upset that apple cart, because if they do, then what happens? They have to consort with the likes of you and me. They'll be on these platforms and bitching and talking here. So I can understand why they don't do it. And there's a reason why every whistleblower pretty much I've ever had on my show, from Wolfgang Halbig to my old elementary school buddy Kevin Shipp, who was a CIA whistleblower. Lots more people, Richard Gage himself in 9/11. If you'd ask them, almost all of them, their marriages break up. You go back to Jim Garrison. Jim Garrison's wife left him. Most of the time, they sacrifice everything for this. And so you realize how strong they have to feel about it, because, but I just consider there are people out there that see what happened to them. And that's probably why they don't come forward. So they say, well, okay, whether there's a conspiracy or not, I know what's going to happen here. My family's going to, they're not going to, stay by me. So I have empathy for people that don't talk. It's hard to be a whistleblower. It's hard because I say all the time that our only strength that we have, the only weapon we have on our side is a huge advantage in numbers. Like Orwell's supposed to, and we just can't come together. And what we're talking about tonight is kind of the reason why, where you have arguments over, who's a shill, who's not a shill, and that's. I think it's count. I want to make allies out of anyone. Like I told guys that my producer, my publicist had contacted Tucker Carlson's producer. If he had stayed on the air, I'm pretty sure maybe I would have been able to get on there with Masking the Truth. I don't know if he had the balls to talk about that book, but he should have, because that's what he was talking about. But it's possible. So if I had got on there and I mentioned that to other people, would that have instantly discredited me? Would that mean I'm a sellout because Tucker Carlson wouldn't have had me on if I was legit? Right. So I think we have to look at, you take what platforms you can give me. I would, if Anderson Cooper wants to have me on, Joy Reid, any of these people that I think are horrible people, but if they want to have me on, I'm confident enough in myself that I'll be able to handle myself well, and I'll have a big platform. So I don't know what I don't think you instantly become, now if I decided I suddenly wanted to go work for Joey Reid or something, then you can say I sold out. Okay.
Exactly. Again, I'm reading a lot of the comments, so I guess I had White Wolf comment, and I'm interactive with the chat, Don, if that's okay with you.
Sure, of course.
He said there's not one person in Congress that has integrity. You ever heard of Don Massey?
Yeah, Matt Tom.
You ever heard of Justin Amash? And I don't agree with Justin Amash on everything. Those two guys, are you even looking at people's voting records, White Wolf, to see what they vote for?
Yeah,
or Thomas Massey. Why did I say Don? Sorry about that. Thomas Massey. He's great. He seems like I think he's the best.
Yeah, I think he's the best there. Yeah, and none of them are going to be perfect. When I talk about when I talk about JFK, there are things I don't like about him. I think he was killed for what he might do. Huey Long comes the closest to me. That's my boy. But I'm sure there might have been something I wouldn't like about him either. There's nobody perfect. And you need to understand it. If they get in there, if they do anything good at all, and that's my argument, is that none of them do anything good. And that's why Trump was so disappointing, because if Trump simply had done something on immigration, or if Rand Paul got in there and just ended the wars and brought all the troops home and, redid the focus on domestic issues, and if any of them did that, but they never do. And that's what happens is a system, whether it's part conspiracy, it's part incompetence, it's just part people looking after their own asses, and they don't want to, they don't want to lose what they have.
Here's another one. Everyone's an idiot because they still believe in voting. I don't believe in voting for presidential candidates at all. I will never vote again after 2016. Right. Okay, but why are everybody idiots? Because they don't think what you think?
Yeah.
Come on. See, this is my thing as someone who has dealt with the general public, okay, for a living, okay, you can't, if you're trying to sell an idea, you have to know how to package the idea.
Right.
Okay. And if you don't know how to package the idea and you just use blunt force to try to sell somebody an idea, you're going to fail. That's why we're spinning our wheels. That's why that greatest weapon that you talked about, Don, is the numbers, the general public. That's why we don't have them. That's why they don't know the things that we know, because we try to hit them in the head with a baseball bat of information. Okay. Instead of trying to package it in a way that is palatable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Sure. And then I get that stuff about voting too, because I've said I may, stop me before I vote again. I may vote again. It's just I realized a long time ago. I read Vote Scam a long time ago before I talked about it in Hidden History. I haven't thought they were really counting the votes for a long time. But when my kids were little, I did it as an example to them. I just want to say, okay, I'm doing my civic duty, even though but I'm not going to tell them I don't think they're counting the votes. So I tried to set a good example. When they were real little, I would carry them in, and vote there, just because I wanted to see. Even though I knew, I don't know, I was trying to set a good example. And but even when I voted for Trump in 2016, first of all, I didn't think he had a chance to win, so I thought Hillary was going to win. So I was shocked, obviously, when it happened. But who knows? In 2024, I may vote again if. I have no confidence that they're counting my votes, but if I drive by my polling place, it's very close to me, and I can see most of the time there's no line. So if I can go in and out and it's 5 minutes of my time, I'll take a chance on the off chance that my vote counts. I don't think it will, but there's a chance maybe it does. So I might do that, but I'm not going to wait in any line for it. No, I'm not going to wait in any kind of line. But yeah, I don't think people are stupid that are doing it because again, they think they're not in our world, and it's incomprehensible to them. And I was looking today as I'm writing basically what is Hidden History for, and a lot about Trump and Biden and everything. But I was talking about Victoria Collier, who was the daughter of one of the Collier brothers who wrote Vote Scam. She used to be, and I wrote about in her Hidden History about the work she was continuing their work exposing vote fraud. Well, guess what? She's got a huge case of Trump derangement syndrome. So now she thinks elections are fair. And I found a headline when she wrote an article on Truth Out was it saying Trump's claims about electoral fraud are just a wild conspiracy theory. This is just the daughter of the people that wrote Vote Scam. So, that's where we're at as a society where, she was an ally before. I communicated with her, but I can't now. So I got in an argument with her a long time ago, but I said, I can't, look what your dad and uncle did. And now so but a lot of times, and that's why, I talk about Trumpenstein, people familiar with me. That's one of the great examples of what Trumpenstein did, the Trumpenstein Project. They took somebody like Victoria Collier, who was probably the preeminent vote fraud expert in the country when her dad and uncle died. And they turned her into a shill for the Democratic Party because Trump derangement syndrome. So it's real, folks. Whatever you think about Trump, that Trumpenstein Project is real.
Well, this is the thing, the mind games that they play with the general public. Like I believe that all that fraud that was shown on purpose. I think there's fraud in every single election. I think it was televised, thrown in people's faces on purpose. So here's something I want to point out. This is a great segue to what's in my mind right now. So they run all this stuff on the general public, all these, and I'm with you guys. Don't get me wrong. You guys who listen to my show, I talk about a lot of different stuff. I believe in EMF, GMO foods, vaccine damage. I could go on. I mean, I could just go on. Fluoride in the water. Okay. These are all things that I go, chemtrails, all that stuff. All right. I might even believe in Bigfoot for all you know. Okay. But here's the thing. So they run all these operations on the general public. What makes you good people out there? And I love y'all. And you can be mad at me tonight. It's okay. But what makes you good people think that they're not running stuff on you? They're not running stuff on us. There's not some I'll just get the lizards. They might be real. They might not be real. I'm like Don. I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not all knowledgeable oracle. Right. What did they call that in that one movie? That whatever. But here's the thing. Could that be a psyop to make us all look stupid? So when Angry Tiger talks about the Federal Reserve, right underneath them's a lizard video, and a person who's not privy to all this information sees that and says, "Oh, I'm not listening to this guy. He believes that lizards run the world."
Right, and that's the. And I understand what you're saying, but that's been a subtext of the research community again, going back to the JFK assassination, where the reason I'm not accepted there anymore is because I talk about all these other things. And most of them, believe the JFK assassination happened in a vacuum. That somehow we weren't corrupt before November 22nd, 1963, and then this terrible thing happened, and they're still covering it up for some reason. But they're good people otherwise. They're and I try to tell them these things are connected, but you're right in terms of I think that we need to. What they will do is they say, well, they're not going to pay. They're not going to. And even in the JFK assassination, if somebody talks about the Harvey and Lee theory, for instance, that there were two Oswalds, and that's a big thing, and there's evidence for it, that they had, it was like a project, an intelligence operation, where they groomed one Russian youngster and an American kid that looked pretty much alike. And there's a lot of evidence for it, of Oswald being in the same, registered in the same school in different parts of the country at the same time. That kind of stuff. But a lot of people say, oh, that's, or the people that think the Zapruder film was altered. Again, there's evidence that it was. The body was altered. So there's, even in that world, there's these researchers say, oh, that's, people are, we're going to be discredited. And I try to tell them, the same media, they're going to discredit you no matter what. You're not going to be credible to them. If you're saying Oswald didn't do it, you're discredited. So it doesn't matter what this other stuff you're saying. Yeah, you should have evidence for it. I mean, you should, but there is some evidence. But I don't say that I know the theory. Same thing with 9/11, where you have because it wasn't investigated. Did a missile hit the Pentagon? I don't know, but I do know the hole looks way too small, and for the plane. And there's no impact point of the wings, and where did the wings go? They weren't sheared off outside. It's a legitimate question. Same thing with when you look at some of the things, but I don't know that they're Dr. Judy Wood and people like that are right with their holograms or the empty bills. I don't know, but that's what happens. You get speculation, and so we get it now in the conspiracy world at large. We get all this speculation about lizard people and flat Earth and simulated and computer simulation and all that because we're being lied to all the time. So individual people that are, going to work every day and coming home and knocking back a few beers to relax and thinking, they're speculating. So, I mean, that's what you get, and I don't knock any of them for it. I mean, the reptilian thing, I used to laugh at it, but I don't know. There's a lot of snake and reptilian symbolism that goes back a long way. It makes you wonder, and maybe it would explain some things about the royals and other people.
Well, yeah. I'm a big skeptic of a lot of this stuff. I believe a lot of this stuff is CIA COINTELOP. I believe a lot of this stuff is injected into our community to make us crazy. We get on the right track, and then we get thrown off the right track. And that frustrates me. That's why I kind of push back on this stuff, and a lot of people get angry at me. But I'm not a shill. I'm not, some CIA agent. I'm trying to. The point of this show, ladies and gentlemen, instead of losing all my viewers and listeners, is I'm trying to get you guys to think and bring you back down to earth just a little. Okay, I'm not saying I know all of this stuff, okay, but at least I know that I don't know. Everybody's so sure about everything. Yes. You watch I seen some podcast where this guy's like, they're doing this operation in a cow's uterus to do a ritual and bring forth Moloch. And go ahead. Yeah. We are being murdered. We're being killed chemically. We're being murdered spiritually. We're being murdered mentally and intellectually. We're being murdered economically. And everybody wants to talk about this stuff they can't prove. The truth that we can prove, like the JFK assassination, chemtrails, EMF, fluoride, all the stuff I just mentioned is fantastic enough. Right. If we want to really get something done, let's leave the other stuff to the side until we think that maybe the general public is ready for this or whatever. But what are we doing? Are we just entertaining ourselves, or are we trying to do something? Are we trying to get the word out? Because then me and Don are just wasting our breath.
Right. Well, that's why I don't speculate. I don't theorize, because people ask me all the time who killed JFK, and I said, look, all I can tell you is that Lee Harvey Oswald did, and the official story is a giant lie. Same thing with 9/11. It wasn't 19 crazed Arabs hijackers led by Osama bin Laden from a bat cave somewhere. The official stories, when you deconstruct and show that the official stories are impossible, okay, then I don't have the wherewithal to investigate this stuff. I throw the information out there. People can decide for themselves. It's pretty obvious who's doing the lying and the covering up, so you can kind of connect the dots. But I don't. And the other thing, I don't make predictions, and that's one of Alex Jones's drawbacks. And people like him, but there are others like him too, where they're constantly predicting a doomsday. They're constantly predicting terrible things are going to happen, and they never do. And so they look stupid. They look like Jean Dixon used to look back. She was a psychic in the 60s and 70s that the National Enquirer used to publish her, and she was always wrong. The Earth's teenagers are going to be captured by the Martians, and Atlantis is going to rise. The same crap every year. She never had any predictions that come true. And it's the same thing with our conspiracy world. That's why when I watch these podcasts, I view them, okay, they put the information out there, are they trying to use humor, or they maybe they're, when I speculate, I'm speculating for fun. I'm obviously doing it with tongue in cheek, and I don't take myself seriously, because we're not invited to these meetings. We're not in the club, so we don't know what the hell's going on. All I know is that it looks like everything we're told is a lie, and that there's a lot of stuff. I mean, one of my heroes is Henry David Thoreau, the poet, and he had a credo that he used to say, simplify. Things are a lot simpler than the authorities, the officials, and again, the elite have to make them more complex, because then that justifies their existence. A lot of these problems are easy to solve. They don't want to make it easy. They don't want to simplify. And that's why we saw, a lot of the same problems that are being talked about, they've been talked about for decades, and nothing ever gets done. And they just go and talk about this and this and that. And the conspiracies are never talked about, although now they are. Again, one of the inadvertent things that Trump made happen is that he got our world to come out of the closet. Now people are more open about talking about this stuff, because the mistaken, I think, misguided view is that Trump, agrees with us when he really doesn't, but he kind of winks and plays along. So, the stuff we're talking about now is kind of talked about in little ways. They nibble around the edges of it, but you're right. We ended up, and there's so many things. QAnon certainly poisoned the water. I mean, there's,
oh man,
if you want to,
Joe Biden's wearing a mask, and Robert Kennedy, is he still alive? And then Trump's going to bring him back from the dead. And Trump's a necromancer or something from Planet Optoid.
Yes,
the Moloch is helping him, and the lizard people are on standby.
Yes, I mean, that was probably the most obvious, I think, psyop, intelligence psyop, and again, I think that was pretty obvious. They set that one up because they had to have a way to try to explain to the Trump loyalist why he wasn't doing anything he said he was going to do, why he was, constantly naming Deborah Trumpers, naming these inside people, swamp creatures, to when he was supposed to be draining the swamp. Why he deported fewer people than Obama. He didn't build the infrastructure, didn't bring the troops home. He didn't do anything he said he was going to do, didn't audit the Federal Reserve. So this explained it. And it got millions of people to believe it. Okay, yeah, he's playing 4D chess. I mean, I read, it was a couple of weeks ago, I saw that the Oprah Winfrey's on trial at Guantanamo Bay or something. It's like, really? Okay. I don't know. She's that's what they think. Hillary's been on trial. I don't know how many times they're according to them. And but there are people that still believe it. And, hey, you've got, I guess there are people that believe in Santa Claus too. But and unfortunately, that was something I think that was dreamed up to try to explain why he was. And that's what will be interesting to see what happens, because if they decide to bring Trump back, then, I don't know how they're going to keep them on the farm if he does. And I think he'll do the same thing. I think that's what he does, but we'll see.
If they bring Trump back, Don, there's going to be another gigantic disaster. Because, my theory with Trump was once I seen they had half the country hating him, and this is conjecture, this is just my opinion, all right, that I'm like, there's going to be a disaster under this guy, and they can blame anything they want on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm worried about that. Now I've been watching a lot of stock sell-offs by huge hedge funds, huge investors, Warren Buffett, Bezos and Zuckerberg, all these people, and that tells me that Biden might be the selection. And I believe maybe these people have an inside on what's going on. I'm not picking on anybody, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong or anybody's right. I'm trying to give people perspective on how to, and I hate to use this word, sell the information that is important to people to even get them biting on our hook. So they wake up to things a little bit, so they wake up to the fact that the Federal Reserve controls the money supply, or like the CDC is a horrible, corrupt organization, poisoning the hell out of us, and Big Pharma runs them. Right. You got to get them there before you get them to flat earth and the infirmant falling in and crushing you.
Exactly. I think, again, what that's what I try to do. I concentrate on exposing how you're being lied to about everything, as you mentioned. If poison on our water, fluoride has been in the water for 60 years. Look at a bottle of fluoride in the store. It's got the poison symbol on it. It's in your water. I mean, what does that tell you? And you're a conspiracy theorist if you question it. We have GMO products that are, they tried to get them to be labeled a few years back, and it was voted down by the voters, supposedly, if it was legitimate. So we can't even have the right to know what these artificial, genetically modified. That doesn't sound like something I would want, genetically modified ingredients, but and they're banned in a lot of. Vladimir Putin banned them. He doesn't allow any GMO products. So these are real things, and anybody can look up the sky, and it sure looks like something weird's going up there that we call chemtrails. Something's going on, and you and a couple other people that we know. I've had them on my show too that talk about the EMF waves and the things that are, we don't know what's happening there. These are phenomena that people are experiencing themselves. And then, of course, we just in the political world, the absolute corruption we have a system that doesn't work and two parties that are both failures, evil versus stupid. And 96% of these people get reelected every time, even though the public opinion polls say that they have less than a 10% approval rating. How do we explain that? How do we explain how if you have less of an approval rating, trust rating than used car salesmen, but the voters can't help themselves from voting you back in every time? Does that make any sense? I mean, so these are the things I concentrate on. What does that mean? Either it means that people are unbelievably stupid and there's nothing we can do about it. They're that stupid, or they're not counting the votes. So I concentrate on that stuff. You'll never hear me say, I know. That's why I get in people talking about the Jews and the Freemasons and all this stuff. I'm interested in all that and I'll talk about it, but I can't, I don't know who's, I can just concentrate on the people I see who did this or who did that. Yeah, I think they have masters above them, but
we'll never know who they are.
No, they're in the shadows on purpose. And in my books, I have all these quotes from people going back, for centuries that, they're unseen powers behind the scenes. But at any rate, well, that hour went fast.
That did go fast. Wow, Don, I can't believe how quick that went. Well, I want to. You're off air now, right? It automatically kind of kicks you out, doesn't it?
Did it? Let me see. I don't know. Let me see what this butt thing is.
This butt thing. Everybody's like, "What?"
Oh yeah, it is. It is idle. You're right. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it automatically kicks you off there and goes to the next thing. Well, Don, I want to thank you for a great conversation, and everybody, again, help me out here, Don, too, because they're all going to be mad at me. I'm trying to get you guys to think a little bit. I'm just trying to get you to,
right.
We're trying to change. You guys, everybody wants something, unless you guys want things to stay the same. Okay, we need to find out a technique that's going to get the masses kind of biting on the hook and listening to what we're saying. All right, but we need to find a technique to do that, and what we've been doing so far isn't working. That was the point of this whole episode. And then just throwing everybody out the window because they're a show when they tell the truth about something and not sharing it or not giving them a bravo for it. I think there's great folly in that. Last word, Don.
Absolutely right. And I apologize to people that obviously I don't know. Jason Barker, I will get a hold, or he probably can't hear me saying that now anyhow because I'm off the air. I'm still on Rumble. Okay, well I'll get a hold of I'm still getting used to this butt software. I didn't realize it would just cut off like that. So I apologize, people that are still listening. Thanks for listening to this simulcast, and hopefully I'll remember what day of the week my show is on next week, and the software will work. But come listen to I Protest this Friday at 5 p.m.
Yeah, everybody get in the Rockfin chat.
Yeah, get there, get in the Rockfin, and get in the it streams on my YouTube, and we're much more organized there. I have Tony, produces it for me, so I don't have to rely on my whatever the hell I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just need to talk. So everything else is I need people doing that for me. But it's great, Angry Tiger. It's wonderful being with you. Love what you're doing, and I appreciate everybody's listening out there. And I'm sorry if we were, had some glitches, but the software is a glitch, and there has glitches in it, and we tried to simulcast and it wasn't working perfectly. So we hopefully you still enjoyed it.
Yep, great. That's awesome stuff. Everybody check out Don Jeffries, the legendary, on freeworld.fm. He's on Rockfin. He was an American Unplugged. Check him out. I am on freeworld.fm, Tiger Tales, 8 p.m. On Saturday nights. We do some pep talk. We don't talk about any of this kind of stuff. And then in the last hour, I do musical requests from the chat, and it is a blast. Everybody loves it, so you want to come and have some fun there. And again, all the viewers, all the listeners, I love you no matter what you believe, okay? You guys know what I'm about. You know what Don Jeffries about. I appreciate this great simulcast that we had today. And, remember, my last words to you as usual, I care and love all of you. Care for and love every single one of you out there and humanity. And that's why I do what I do. And I think that's why Don does what he does. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and remember, time is your most valuable commodity. Try not to waste it. Cherish it. Spend it doing something you love, with someone you love, improving yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for viewing. And until we meet again.
Your time is your most valuable commodity. Cherish it and use it wisely. Until we meet again.